Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast. My name is Steve Smith, and I'm your host, and I have got a special podcast episode just for you. This episode is titled Recorded Live at the ASTMA Conference, Sydney. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. In partnership with Colin Campbell Chemicals, I was at the ASTMA Turf Conference in Sydney, and I recorded this podcast episode live from the Colin Campbell Chemicals stand, and I had a co-host joining me who is co-owner of Colin Campbell Chemicals. That is Nadeem Zrykat, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm sure you all know who Nadeem is by now. Now, in this episode, I will let you know that it was recorded. A couple of these interviews were recorded across two separate days. It was day 3 and day 4. I've blended all the interviews together, so they're all back-to-back along the way, so hopefully you get a lot of information out of it. It's a bit of an insight as to what goes on at the trade show, at the conference, and we talk with some fantastic guests, including some international experts that drop by. So I'm sure you're going to get a kick out of it. There's a great insight, a wide spectrum of people that sat down to have a chat with us at the trade show doing this one live. It was a lot of fun. Thanks to Nadeem and Colin Campbell Chemicals in partnership for putting this one together with me. Without further ado, this is episode number 131. Ladies and gentlemen, we are recording live from the Colin Campbell Chemicals stand here at the ASTMA conference in Sydney at the trade show with Nadeem Zrykat from Colin Campbell Chemicals. G'day, Nadeem. How are you, mate?
Good, Steve. Yourself. Welcome to my home. Wait a minute, you live here too.
I do
Yes.
live, yeah. Welcome to our home, everyone listening. This is Sydney. It's a home state advantage.
Somewhat, yes.
Of sorts,
Yes.
24 years between drinks.
Yes, and I think I might have said if a few people, I did say on my podcast the other day, it's like going, that was my first conference, 2001.
Oh, it was 2001. I was guessing with people before. I said, I'm pretty sure it was 2001.
Yes.
And I was here as well. I was an apprentice, and I was here. There you go. Geez, that's a long time ago.
You know, funny thing was we had the SCA Apprentice Day. Can we just quickly talk about that?
We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. So, what we're here for.
So, you know, obviously, Steve, you're promoting it, and we had about 80-odd apprentices turn up for that. We were one of the sponsors along with...
Is that what's today?
That was today, this morning, yeah. So, Toro and KMB was sponsoring as well. And I said to the guys, the last time I was in Sydney, it was 24 years ago. I said, some of you probably weren't even born.
Oh, that's a scary thought, dude.
I know it is.
officially feel old. Wow. That's a disturbing concept.
Yeah, so people haven't seen us. Now we're giving away our age.
Wow, far out. There would be people that wouldn't have been. Yes. And how did it go? It went well?
It was really good, actually, yeah.
80 apprentices, that's good. That's great.
So they came in 3 different groups.
Yep.
So they chaperoned and liked, and pretty much I just told them about who we are, what we do, and gave them some information, educational information.
Fantastic. That's so good. Great stuff. Had any of them heard of the podcast before?
There was a couple that had, which was good.
Awesome.
Yes.
That's what we want to hear.
And I gave the golf ring, and I also gave them a sheet of podcasts I listened to and said,
Hi, Menina. Podcast guest of last couple of years. Fantastic.
Of podcasts that I listen to, but also they should listen to, and obviously Behind the Turf and the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast were numbers 1 and 2.
Absolutely. Fantastic. That's great. That's so good to hear. Good conversion, and that's what we like.
Yeah.
This is what you do. You like to educate people as well, passing on knowledge and information, and when you're an apprentice, you're learning about all these things, and there's so many different ways to get information in, but your podcast is a great resource, we know that, and being connected to you is great because you also do print. You've got connections with people internationally in America, a lot of the professors and doctors from over in different universities over there. Tell us about some of the people that you know.
Yeah, that's it. Well, one of the things is like the keynote speakers here, Dr. Jim Kearns from North Carolina State University. That's the formal name of him. So Jim from NC State, good mate of mine. He was here. He's a keynote speaker, was speaking about diseases and likes like that. We caught up last night, actually for dinner.
Yeah,
which was
right.
good. Dinner and drinks at the Locker Room, which was just one of the pubs here at Homebush. And also Alan Fitzgerald, who's from Ireland initially, but in the US at the moment. So we had a great chat. We had a good time. Pete Lonergan was with us as well, and Mark Finlay, and there were some really funny stories. And we a
lot of reminiscing as well through those conversations too.
And I introduced Jim to Bundy rum as well.
Oh wow!
Yes, that's a big one. So so any international listeners here, we have this drink called Bundaberg rum. Very Australian. It's a dark rum. It's an acquired taste. It's like bourbon but different. A lot of bourbon drinkers don't like it.
There you go.
Yeah, he liked it.
Yeah, very good.
Which was good, yes.
There you go. Drink responsibly, people, as we say. An interesting point, because a lot of people from overseas don't know it, but a lot of people in Australia do, obviously.
Yes.
It's a very well-known brand here. And these are the things that happen. Lots of connections, mate. Lots of reminiscing, I'm sure, in conversations.
Oh, that's it. We were talking about it, and like, to Jim, when we sort of first met, and how many years I've been going to the US and everything like that. And he's like, you know everyone. I said, no, I don't know everyone. I said, I just go over, and at the end of the lectures, I just go introduce myself.
Yeah.
Especially if I enjoyed the talk.
And that's a good way for people to just get those initial connections. I mean, you do that as part of your business and your career, right? But these are skills that young people listening to this podcast and young people getting into the trade of green care, it's very important that they go and make those connections. I've seen a few young people here in the conference that I've been here already in the last couple of days, and I've said to them, hey, if you see some people you know or you've heard of, make a point of going and say hi and introduce yourself, because you might use those connections. They might be helpful into your future career. And it's good to know those people.
No, definitely. And there's another speaker here as well, Chase Straw from Penn State University.
Yep.
So I met Chase this year up at the US conference. He came to my G'day Australia event, and actually introduced from the ASTMA, because obviously he's a keynote speaker. So first time I met him. So it was great, because I know quite a few of the guys from Penn State. So he's a new boy on the block from Penn State, so it's good. So he's actually going to be coming on the podcast shortly, just after the plenary session's
Fantastic.
finished.
Looking forward to chatting with him, and it'll be great to get a bit of an insight on what his thoughts are coming here. Do you know if he's been here before?
No, this is his first time here.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, we look to have some good conversation.
Yeah, because he went to Melbourne as well, so we can have a bit of a chat about that
Very good
as well.
Good stuff. All right, Nadeem, we'll get Chase Straw here very shortly.
All right, let's get him in.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have joining us a celebrity that's down here at the ASTMA conference, and he's got a smile on his face already. We've got Dr. Chase Straw from Penn State in the United States of America. Big trip. G'day, Chase. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's I got to get used to that. Penn State. I'm new, so I still have Texas A&M on my mind. So.
There you go. Very good. And welcome to Australia. This is the first time here.
First time. It's been a great few days. It's shorter than I wanted it to be, but it is what it is. I think I've made the most of the trip so far, and I go home tomorrow. So.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's packed in a lot, short stint.
A whole
You
lot.
did some speaking here at the conference. What's that been like for you?
It's been great. I did a group or a session with the AFL on Monday, which was great. And then I did I guess it was like a keynote type presentation yesterday in front of the entire group, which I think went well. Those are always tough to do.
Yeah, sure.
Speaking to a wide audience like that. And then today I spoke to the sports field managers within that track. So it was really good to engage with them. And I love talking about my research. I feel like I've done it so many times, and I'm always talking about my own stuff that, sometimes I skim over the details.
Sure.
And so I think I did okay this time, kind of slowing down and not skipping over those small details. So.
And Nadeem tells me some of that research that you look into, it's some of the technical side of things that are now offering into the industry. We're seeing a lot of high-tech things starting to come in, AI starting to really show a presence in the future where we're looking at. How does it look from where you do and a lot of the research you've been doing?
Yeah, I've kind of carved my niche as the technology person over in the States. The agronomy is great, but I feel like everybody has their own battles when it comes to agronomy. It's really hard to get up in front of a large group and say, you need to do this, this, and this, and this works. It's really hard to do that because everybody fights their own battles. So the technology excites me because I feel like people get excited about it because, one, there's just a lot that we need to learn about it. There's a lot of unknown. There's a lot of technology that's becoming more and more available, so it's really hard to keep up with. And I mentioned this during one of my presentations this week. It's hard to keep up with it from a research standpoint, but also from a practitioner standpoint, because once you spend a whole bunch of money on something, then the next year it just it continues to improve, right? So it's really important, I think, as an academic to try to educate as best as I can the pros and the cons of everything that I see as far as technology. And there's so many applications, from robotic mowers to soil moisture sensors to satellites to you name it. We have to try to figure it out, and it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
It's really overwhelming, but it's fun. And I don't have a job on the line, right? Somebody says, "Hey, we invented this." Sometimes it's an absolutely ridiculous technology, and I'll say, "Sure, I'll try it out. Why not?"
Unreal. No, mate, it sounds very interesting from the outside, hearing some of that stuff, and no doubt there's things on there that lots of us haven't even heard of, right? I'm sure there's some unreal stuff. Nadeem, mate, you got any queries?
Yeah, Jade, we first met earlier on this year and in San Diego for the conference at the G'day Australia event there. But I do remember, I didn't hear your name, but when I went to Penn State, because I visited Penn State the year before with John and with Ben, and they said, yeah, we're getting someone. We want him. He's going to come. And it's like, the new dude, and I go, oh, this is our new boy.
Yep.
So it's great. So welcome to the Penn State family from Australia. It's like going, I love the Penn State guys. So one of the things is like, yeah, with all that autonomous technology side, is there any part of that technology sort of really like, yeah, this is just going to become a standard for turf management? Are you seeing anything like that? Yep. Or is it still like there is that many tools available, you just don't know yet?
Yeah, I mean, robotic mowers is a no-brainer. Will robotic mowers take over at every facility? No. There'll be an integration of traditional mowing and robotic mowing, but we're already seeing robotic mowers explode in the United States. And I think as more people learn about them and the technology continues to advance, robotic mowers are a no-brainer. I'd say the other one, and I had it at the tip of my tongue, mower. We got people taking pictures of us. So
yeah, don't worry, that's just my brother there. It's all right.
Robotic mowers, and there was one other one. Painters. Yeah, for sports fields.
Yep.
So line painters.
Yep.
I mean, it's a no-brainer. Communities, high schools, collegiate, even all the way up to professional for training pitches. Robotic painters are taking over. And from a labor standpoint, and I mentioned this yesterday, labor's a big issue in the United States. I would assume it is here too.
Oh, it definitely is, yes.
And so with these application technologies is what I group those into, robotic mowers and line painters. They're no-brainers, and I think they're going to be standards for sure. I mean, they're already becoming standards.
And one of the things is we had a quick chat about it before, as I was showing you what we were doing with GPS sprayers and poem mapping and the likes. Is that getting looked at quite a bit in the US as well?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's another one, especially on the golf side. It's not necessarily taking over too much on the sports field side, but I think even going beyond the, everybody thinks GPS sprayers, individual nozzle control, prevent the overlaps, minimize misses, add auto steer. That obviously is another big advantage. But taking it another step like you all do, identifying some kind of pest and then doing site-specific or spotted spraying is the next step in that. And, yeah, some of the research that I do is also involved in that.
Yeah, I've got to definitely pick your brain about that as we go along, because I see that side, this is coming from a chemical company. We're talking about reducing the amount of chemicals used. It's like, yeah, definitely. But I look at it going, where these GPS sprayers and the mapping can come into it is like, well, you know what, where we do spray, it might be a smaller area, but now we can use better technology, better active ingredients, safer active ingredients. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree with that, and I think we're really close with that technology. There's companies out now with the See and Spray sprayers, and I think that's the next step is how do we put a camera on the front of a boom sprayer, and they have it in agriculture. How can we detect the weed in the front and spray in the back, right?
Yeah, that's it. I've seen that. I've seen the winners See and Spray technology in turf. However, it's only been a person in WA has it, and it sees a weed and it sprays it with glyphosate. No. That's all it does.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, that's all it does. So it'll leave a big gaping, bare area.
Yep.
But it's mostly for council verges and the likes like that. Not sports field amenities or high end golf courses or anything along those lines.
Right. And then another kind of along that line is drone spraying, and we're seeing that a lot on golf courses in native areas because superintendents don't want to drive in those native areas because it causes the tracks. How efficient those are, I don't think we necessarily know yet. I've done a little bit of research with nozzles and spray volumes and efficacy, and drift obviously is a big issue. But will we ever get to where we're spraying swarms of drones across fairways? Maybe, I don't know.
That would be pretty cool to see. It's like I remember my uncle always said to us, it's like going, you watch, I'm a sci-fi fan as well, and you watch some of the sci-fi shows, it's like you see these things, it's like that's really weird. It's like, but fast forward 40, 50 years, that's what we've got there today.
Yep.
It's like we're seeing these drones, we're seeing more of them, and the use of them in other areas and in turf grass. It's going to be a no-brainer in the future where I can see every facility having a drone.
Yeah, well, so on my graduate committee, I had Dr. Bob Caro. He was world-renowned soil physicist, turfgrass soil physicist, wrote textbooks on water quality, soil quality for turfgrass, and he was around during the first development of the handheld TDR meter. And he said when it first was developed, there was a huge pushback in the industry. Like, what in the world is this? I'm not going out and doing this, blah, blah, blah. I mean, look at it today. It's an obvious standard. And I think we're with that with a lot of technologies now that 20 years from now, we'll look back and say, wow, why was there even pushback on that?
Actually, Mike Fidanza in the talk that I went to a GCSA with Carmen there from Pogo was talking about that. It's like, how many had any type of moisture sensor 10 years ago? No one put their hand up. One person did, I think. How many have them now? Everyone puts their hand up.
Yep.
So it's going to be pretty cool. And there's some, hopefully we're going to ride this wave nice. Actually, that what we were talking about before, the apprentices coming through, I said to them going there, and I think now if you're coming into turf management, there is so much in this industry. We talk about labour shortages, but I think realistically we're going to need not just turf practitioners, we're going to need technology practitioners as well to be able to understand and operate the machinery and the technology going forward, whether it's drones, software, GPS sprayers. I think there's going to be a very different industry, a more evolved industry in the next 5 years.
Well, with all the options we have genetically too. So grass is a lot easier to grow than it used to be back in the day when we only had a handful of varieties to choose from. Now we have a lot of different Bermuda grasses, a lot of different cool season grasses, drought tolerant, shade tolerant. As long as we have the right selected species or variety, growing the grass isn't really too difficult. Now it's managing the people, managing expectations, managing regulation, getting labor. So you really have to be way more than an agronomist in this industry now. And that's definitely, we use that as a recruiting tool, all these technologies. Anytime we bring high school students, we just had our, it's called the Future Farmers of America, which they have a turfgrass sector. They have a competition within the state and nationally. And we had them last month. They did the turfgrass. It's called Career Development Event. And we have drones, we have GPS sprayers, and that's what excites them. Obviously, sports and golf excite them too. But growing grass is kind of low in the totem pole of what they get super excited about, right?
Everyone wants the Xbox, the PlayStation, the games. It's real life stuff now.
Yeah, exactly. But you give them a robotic mower where you're literally got a controller and you can drive that thing around. They love it.
It's incredible to think what technology will take our industry to in the turf grass side of it. Chase, look, I really appreciate you stopping by on the Golf and Greenkeeper podcast, giving us insight into some of the stuff that you're looking into and you're doing a great deal of research into in the States. It's quite incredible what's ahead, and like we've all been saying here, the evolution of our industry, and certainly the skill sets of those practitioners will evolve with their industry, and it's certainly got some amazing stuff on the horizon. Thank you so much for joining us, Chase. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Look forward to coming back.
Thanks, Chase. See you in Japan.
We are wandering around. Well, we're not wandering. We're static at the table, but lots of other people are walking past. And Nadeem's grabbed a couple of gents that we've got in here as guests. Guys, I'll have you introduce yourselves. Jesse, you first, mate, if you don't mind.
Yes, so my name's Jesse Bartlett. I'm the president of the Sports Turf Association here in New South Wales. We've been a part of the ASTMA conference here this week, working with them and showing some apprentices through. We had 85 apprentices come through with us today, going to different talks and showing them the different areas in the trade stands here.
Fantastic, mate. And Shane, yourself, you introduce yourself, mate, please.
Shane Burrows. I'm a committee member for the Sports Turf Association at New South Wales, and been enjoying the last day or so here at the ASTMA conference. Really good talks, and the trade exhibitions are awesome.
And Nadeem was just telling me before, and you just mentioned it as well, Jesse, is that we've had those apprentices come through. Tell us a little bit about what it means to have apprentices come in like that and share some of that knowledge and just show them just more in depth of where their careers can go in some bits and pieces.
Well, I think back to when I was an apprentice, and you get to see little bits here and there depending on what contacts you have in the industry, but very rarely do you get to see it all put together in one spot. It's not something every day that people working, whether it's in a golf course in the country somewhere or a sports field for a council, locked away, get to see the future, I suppose, of the industry, not just in personnel but in machinery and products as well. Something like this sort of creates memories and opportunities for life with networking they make and contacts are made around the way. So
100%. And Shane, what are your thoughts on being able to, it was a good turnout. What are your thoughts on, do we advance further than that? Are we getting growth and seeing more apprentices getting, because in years gone by, I know that we've seen numbers dwindle. Are we seeing them improve slowly but surely?
Yeah, absolutely. Having over 85 apprentices here today is a good indication of what's to come in the next 5 to 10 years. And like Jesse touched on, exposing these young guys to the technology and what's available in the industry at the moment and over the next few years is going to be really important.
How do you see tech changing the game, gents? I want to hear some opinions from you guys, because it's really starting to come on in our industry in leaps and bounds, and it looks like it could go anywhere. What are your thoughts?
I think it's good. I think everything has a place, and I don't think it's going to completely replace the human aspect or the greenkeeping aspect that goes along with the job that we do. I see a lot of autonomous and a lot of battery-operated stuff coming in. I think there is a place for it, but I think it's something that if we use wisely and smartly in our practices, we can sort of achieve more on our facilities. I'll give you an example, just talking about maybe autonomous line marking or autonomous mowing. That might take an aspect of someone's job away, but that creates another opportunity for someone to be doing things they maybe wouldn't have been doing before, which can benefit any facility.
So you see, like, we're going further into the 1%ers and doing those sorts of things better as along the way. What do you think? What do you thought, Shane?
Yeah, definitely. The people who will be successful over the next decade are the people who embrace this technology, learn how to use it, learn how to apply it for their stakeholders, their customers, and, like you said, more time to get to the 1%ers.
It certainly can carry us a long way. Gents, any last comments while I've got you here for a few minutes? What are your thoughts on overall here this year in Sydney? First time in 24 years?
Yeah, there's been a little bit of a buzz around Sydney from the guys who would normally travel to go to a conference, whether they got to attend any of the streams today and any of the talks, or just come and have a look at the trade show. I mean, our associations do stuff, but at a very small scale. To have something at a large scale that anyone from the community can walk in, register, and have a look around, I think it does mean a lot that it's in Sydney. And look, it may not be back here for a while. It is a little bit hard of a state to do it in, and we understand and appreciate that. And I think the people in Sydney have enjoyed it so far.
And Shane, thoughts from you?
Yeah, being at the awards dinner on Monday night, there was definitely excitement being in that room, and I think people from around the country have enjoyed coming to Sydney for the first time in quite a number of years. And, we've got some fantastic sporting facilities here, not only in Sydney, in New South Wales. So to be able to showcase what we have here in this precinct to the apprentices today and expose them to, I suppose, the big side of the industry has been really good.
Fantastic, guys. Thank you so much for jumping on the Golf and Greenkeeper podcast.
Thanks for having us.
We're quick to nab, Nadeem's quick to nab anybody who walks past his stand at Colin Campbell Chemicals at the trade show here of the ASTMA conference. And he's grabbed Will Bowden. Is that it, Will? Will Bowden?
Yes, correct.
Will Bowden from PGG Wrights and Turf. Will, tell us a little bit about what you do there overall, mate.
Yep. So I've been with PGG Wrights and now for just over, 2 years. Based down in Kimmy here, which is down in Christchurch.
Okay,
in
South Island. Yep.
Yep. We've got a turf research facility down there. It's pretty cool. All sorts of different turf grass breeders trials.
Yep.
So mostly cool season.
Yeah, sure.
New Zealand climate. But we're dipping our toes more now into warm season demonstrations too. So we're using our contacts up in the North Island.
Yep.
To install those. But yeah, I suppose made our name, if you like, and reputation in the industry through brown top breeding program, New Zealand brown top
grass.
Yep. And like a really strong heritage in that.
Yeah, sure.
And just day to day managing those trials, setting up new trials, bit of product development work as well for myself. Working with the likes of guys like Nadeem and other suppliers, where we do some due diligence work on products, see how they work on our turf grass species in our climate, and informing and supporting the wider territory manager team, commercial team.
Yeah, I'll jump in here, Steve. Yeah, so I've known Will for a couple of years, and that research centre down in Kimmy Head at Christchurch, unbelievable. I'm jealous. It's like we don't have anything like that in Australia. It's simple as that. It takes your breath away. And I went down there for Turf Days, which was a great initiative that they had a big hand in. And that field day, I did vlog from it and everything like that. It is definitely well worth it. So it's great having Will working with PGG. I've always respected PGG. I've known them for a long time. It's actually quite amazing of a company that when I first started in the industry, there as like Mark Shaw, who runs PGG, he is still there as the manager. That's the thing. So George is there as well. Guy Thomas I know a long time. So you've got a great crew that you've been working with, and I've been lucky enough now to get to know the New Zealand team there, because obviously now we've Pollock is finally, it's EPA registered, which is great. We're just going to get the label through, which is, hopefully should be about a month, and hopefully ready to go for spring, which will be exciting, because I know, well, we've been talking about Pollock and doing different trial work and see what we can do down there at the research centre. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Keen as. I was just before we came out here this week looking at we've got a new creeping bent trial in. Just got it in just before the autumn, and I'd love to get some power gear on that. That's for sure. That's got away with me. But all sorts of trial work. Seeing how it goes on brown top as well. That's really important for us. Yeah.
And Nadeem's touched on the climate, having a great facility down there, and obviously New Zealand, the South Island climate is probably as close to Australia as I can think of as Tasmania. For us in terms of relevant. It's really good to hear that you've got such a strong research centre there. You're doing a great deal of work and have done for a long time that I know of as well. We don't have that so much in Australia, so we lean on you guys a lot for that correlation of your results and research. It's great to have in this part of the globe, really, to have that relevance to us, and we can hear from and see a lot of that. You get that here too, no doubt, coming to the conference here and talking to people about it as well, right?
Yep, 100%. And that's been the thinking as well around sort of broadening our diversity of our regions, if you like, where we're working trials. So we've obviously got our core, and we always will have our core at Chemi here. But then duplicating those sort of like the ryegrass, the warm season trial I talked about just now, duplicating those around the country to get that variation in, because you see such significant differences in terms of colour and density, and particularly with the ryegrasses in a transitional kind of environment, the climate, compared to where we are down south. So it's really, really valuable to the data that we produce over time. Yeah.
Is there anything that you could see that you're working on in the future that maybe is things that are happening, evolving, that are different to what's been done over there? Is that with maybe some chemical trials and things like that you're working on at the moment, potentially?
For us, I mean, we've just talked about it, but it's probably been, 2-3 years, 4 years with the power cure. That's gonna, there are literally guys screaming for that in New Zealand. Some very patient guys. So and I know that we've kind of sketched some ideas out with Nadeem of where we'll go with that over the coming months. But we're real keen to just sort of, I think the main thing with that is it's such an important tool. Now, will be going forward for power control management. We just need to make sure that we've got real clarity on the protocols and best practice around that and around the use of that, as we've talked about.
No, that's definitely the case, because one of the things is we've done so much work with Power Cure here. We've seen the good, bad, and the ugly, and we've never shied away about how good it is. But the other side, we've also said, look, this is what can happen if it's not used properly, and lights like that. And then one of the reasons we teamed up with PGG was just their support for their customers, but their support for companies like us, and going to do it the right way. That's a great thing. So I can't wait to get over there and introduce Power Cure and start seeing it actually on the ground, because I've always said to people, it's like, I know what the end result is going to be, but getting there is so much fun with Power Cure. That's what I really enjoy about it. It's like, I love killing power. But I will say this, anyone here that says, what do you want to kill power? I love power. The other side, if you do like power, I'm 100% for that as well.
Yeah.
And like you say, that particular product, and we've talked about this before on the podcast today, but you're a supporter of all people in the industry in the different ways. But in terms of having another tool in the box, as I call it, a tool in the toolbox, and Power Cure is one of those, and being able to soon introduce that to the turf managers across the country in New Zealand is pretty exciting. It's great to see. Will, fantastic to have you drop by the podcast and the Golf and Greenkeeper podcast, mate. Thank you for your time.
No worries. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we nab another person walking past the Colin Campbell Chemicals stand here at the trade show, and I've got Hudson Summers from Country Club in Launceston. G'day, Hudson. How are you, mate?
G'day, Steve. Good. How are you?
Mate, what's it like? You've travelled up a long way from Tassie to get to here for this one. What's it been like, mate? This is a big week for you.
Yes, it's been very good to learn a lot about turf and network with people around Australia and the broader world as well.
Yeah, mate, there's some good names. There's some great speakers here. We've had a lot of local speakers as well as a couple of internationals from the US. What's anything stood out to you so far, mate, that you've seen or you've listened to?
Probably about the soil biological one. They have so many different nematodes and all that living in the actual soil that we haven't even discovered half of them, not even that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, hey. Now, I should clarify, you're second-year apprentice? Third-year apprentice?
Yep.
Third-year apprentice down there, and you've made your way up here on your own bat, mate. This is very impressive to see a young person getting into the trade, wanting to be involved in this and get to experience what it's all about. And I've had some conversations with other people that have met you and said that that's very impressive, mate. So well done to you for making the trip up here. There's lots of other young people around, different levels of apprenticeships
Well,
here.
yesterday they had all of the apprentices from New South Wales here.
Yeah, New South Wales. We're here doing a tour of the venues, the Accor Stadium, the big stadium in Australia, and the NRL stuff, and a couple of other bits and pieces, mate. But look, it's great to hear. You mentioned networking. Tell us some of the people that you've bumped into.
Glenn Gibson-Smith.
Oh, yeah, of course. Fantastic champion, Glenn is.
Casey and Paul from Rainbird.
Okay.
A few of the Greenway guys.
So lots of the businesses that are obviously at the trade show stands, and any peers that are other greenkeeper superintendents you bumped into along the way?
Tim Warren from Glenelg.
Of course, we know Tim very well, friend of the podcast.
Yep. Troy from Melbourne Parks.
Nice. Yep, good.
Mark Parker from
New South Wales Golf Club.
Wales,
Mark
yep.
Parker's a very well-known name in the industry, certainly here in New South Wales, of course, and which is great to see. And he did a talk as well. So, mate, look, Hudson, great to have you jump on the pod for a couple of minutes. Let us know who you are and what you've learnt. So, really appreciate you stopping by, mate. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Now I have joining me Superintendent of Commonwealth Golf Club, Adam Lamb, and I know everyone listening knows Adam because we just had your podcast come out for Keeper of the Greens, mates, and very well received. You had any taps on the shoulders since you've been here walking around here, you superstar legend?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, a couple. It's great. So many people listen to your podcast, Steve, and yeah, they've enjoyed all the chats I think you've had, but yeah, it's been good to hear a bit of feedback.
Very good, mate. I had to throw that one in sneaky. Now, mate, you are president of the Victorian Golf Course Superintendents Association, and you come here representing them as well, as much as yourself, and a stalwart of the industry now. What's it like to be here networking in a place like this? Lots of people, there's lots of industry people, there's lots of experts in different fields. We've got people from the US coming in to do some talks. It's a pretty good event to attend.
Yeah, it has always been. Even as a young guy coming through, it was always good to network, get to learn, all the people from different states, superintendents and assistants, and even the apprentices coming through. Geez, there's a lot of quality people there, isn't there? And yeah, it's just each year you get to know more people, and just that networking opportunity and talking about what we're dealing with and what they're dealing with. It's so it's such a unique industry, and so often we're dealing with the same issues.
Yeah,
it's good to sort of talk through the challenges.
Yeah, and we're always learning as professionals, right? I think that's something that we often forget. Some people forget, but it's good to remember that when you come to this, you're always learning.
Yeah,
get more out of it.
Oh, everyone has to always keep improving and learning what they don't know, and. Yeah, the content of the conference has been fantastic. ASTMA have done a great job. It's really been well attended. The trade show here has been really well laid out, and some really good stuff to see. And yeah, no doubt there's going to be more and more of that technology that is here now in years to come. It's going to develop a lot.
And you talk about that, there's lots of future-looking technologies we're seeing in some of the stands. I've noticed here is that, who knows where. I was having a conversation just yesterday with somebody saying that it's got to a point now where most facilities, turf facilities on golf, have a mechanic full-time, or at least a few days of the week. Am I looking into the future too far to think that it won't be long and we'll have some IT people involved in sheds because of the potential for some of those future technologies to be involved even?
Yeah, I think we will. It's going to be, well, at the moment, it's probably a little bit scary for the guys that have been around for 20 years plus. That technology space is, it's taking off. It's
evolving quick.
Just see it next year. There'll be more and more of it. Particularly with GMA being involved in the conference next year as well, and they're showing an interest, and they're asking us questions, and we can answer it roundabout. But I think in the next 12 months, it's going to be, if it's not already, it's going to be a serious discussion. It's pretty exciting. We've got to embrace it like we always do with changes and the way we evolve, and opportunities are there. It's only going to get more and more developed, I suppose, in terms of what we're doing day to day.
Yeah, in our applications and how we can use it. I suppose it's always evolving and it's always improving, and the way it more integrates into society as we see every day getting into our space is something that I'm sure it will become more and more prevalent. So, Adam, thank you so much for dropping by, mate. It's good to have you back as a flash in the pan this time on the podcast, mate. I appreciate your time.
No, great, Steve. Thanks, appreciate it.
We're privileged to have another fantastic guest here on the Golfing Greenkeeper podcast at the Colin Campbell Chemicals stand, and that is Dr. Jim Kearns from North Carolina State University. I think I went the long version in the end. G'day, Jim. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Mate, it's great to have you on. Could you give us a little background for the people listening and some of your background work that you've been doing and what you're coming here to Australia for, the conference this year?
Yeah, so I'm a professor and extension specialist at NC State University. I'm a plant pathologist by training, so and in particular diseases of turf. I guess a little bit longer background. I did my bachelor's at NC State. I went to Texas A&M for a master's degree in more of a soil microbiology program, and then I came back to NC State to work with Dr. Lane Treadway, who was really booming at the time, so it was a pleasure to work with him. Then I went to the University of Wisconsin for 5 years. Yeah, and then came back to NC State. So
wow, okay, so lots of work in the backgrounds there, and certainly very knowledgeable. That's in part why the ASTMA have you here this year. How have your talks gone so far in your time here?
Oh, I think the talks have gone well. We'd have to ask everybody else.
Let's go from your side, mate. Some of the stuff you've been talking about has been good. That's why we have you here.
Right.
A bit of plant pathology and things like that.
So I guess. The specialty, I guess maybe why I was invited down, is I study root diseases.
Okay.
And I guess that's been a pretty big issue down here.
And it has, yes.
So I guess I've spent 18 years working below ground on some of these things.
There you go.
Yeah. And I think the talks have gone well. The first day was just more of a basic, when things go wrong, what are the things that I look at, I guess.
Yep.
And then yesterday was more of the specialty, talking about specific root diseases, some of the research we've done at how fungicides move in the root zone. And then today I finished with just talking about how the climate, as it's changed, what's that's going to mean for our pathogens and pests.
Because that's something that we're always looking into, is how things are changing in our industry as turf professionals and managers. The game is moving a little bit. The goals it's a moving target anyway, and this just adds another layer of that moving target to how we're going to follow it. And tools are always evolving as well, aren't they?
Yes. So then that's a big thing. I'm glad you mentioned that, because one of the things I'll present later is, not that long ago, 1977, for some of the people in the audience, they won't know what that is, but, you think of green speeds at Oakmont were only 9 feet. And you see where we are today. Even Tier 3 clubs are producing 9 to 10 feet green speeds, And then you couple that with an environment that's constantly changing and at times, I think, becoming more severe. Turf managers are going to have a challenge, I think, moving forward.
No, definitely. I've seen it. There's a lot more intense, a lot more scrutiny on superintendents these days, but the level that I've seen just in my time has jumped so much.
Right.
It was, people used to lose greens every single summer here in Australia, especially in Sydney. The only time people lose greens now is when the irrigation hasn't worked overnight. In terms of your diseases, everyone's really a lot more on top of it, but we also then are seeing these root diseases, these ERI, take-all root rot fungi that were always there, but seeing more of it. It's like Kuchmite. It was always there, but we're seeing more of it. I know you're doing the talk on the climate. I remember being at a GCSAA conference and it was in that talk with yourself, Rick, and Fred.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting talk. So I know it's going to be a shortened version of it, but hopefully if people listening to this have listened to your talk, hopefully they did enjoy it.
Good, yeah. It is. You made a very good point there that even in my career, I don't see people lose greens anymore. I used to, and I don't mean to trivialize it for those that are listening. I'd say even some of these diseases are a little bit more superficial. I don't mean that in a negative way, but I think it's because we've pushed things so far. Some of these pathogens really aren't that aggressive, right? But you couple that with a kind of a climate, and then pushing mowing heights to the extreme and growth regulators and, but on the other side, like at the club I'm at, the conditions provided to us, I don't know how golf course superintendents do it. It's just phenomenal.
And it's a case of people like yourself, and you guys are the experts who've been doing it for so long, where all those years of your research and your peers as well, not just in America but also in other parts of the world, and we come to a conference like this and we get to learn from it. I think as turf managers, we're now taking on so much more. We've had all of those years of your experience being able to learn from that we are now producing better service. I'm not being rude by saying my old golf course, which isn't around anymore, but we were producing greens of 10, on the stimp meter. That's faster than what most people would never have considered that even remotely possible. But it's through the research that you do, it's the learnings that we get from all of your work over many years, and there is a lot in that. You guys do so much stuff, and to be able to have access to you at a place like this, at these conferences, is very important, because it does make a big difference in 20 years, 30 years' time, and we're learning from you, from all of your work.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm happy to hear that. Sometimes you don't know, especially outside of what I call my zone of influence in the southeastern U.S., but I'm always flattered any place I go that people think I'm special, and I'm just like, I just have a job to do like everyone else,
I think, and it's true, because you got both you and Nadeem there just talking and discussing about the fact that how far greens have come, and you don't lose it unless it's irrigation, really. And that wasn't the case. So the only way to put that is that we're getting better at what we do. The more research is being done, and look, the US leads a lot of that nearly all the time, which is what we know. So it's great to be able to tap into that stuff here, and to have people like you make the effort. And we were just talking about it with Tim from Glenelg, that it's not an easy thing to have you come down here. So we do appreciate that effort, and it gives us that access, and to be able to casually talk about different things while you're walking around afterwards, after those talks. So I can say thank you for on behalf of the Aussies here and the New Zealanders, as we've got an announcement over the background. So, on behalf of all the Aussies and New Zealanders that are here, mate, we thank you for making the effort, because it does make a difference, and it does mean something when you do come down to Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah, no, it's been an absolute blast. Probably had a little too much fun at times.
That's good. You'll remember it then.
Yeah, but no, it was when Simone reached out, I was so excited because, I got to see Kaminsky and all those down here. I'm like, what's the matter, Nadeem? You don't like me? You don't want to bring...
That's a good little... I like that backhand. Was it a backhand?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get through everyone eventually. It's like going... Kaminsky brought himself out the first time, so that was, he wanted to come for a holiday, and then he goes, can I do a talk while I'm down there? Of course. When are you coming? Oh, just before Christmas. Still had about 80 people in the room just before Christmas.
Really? The
second year he came, we did it at Royal Melbourne. Richard was kind enough to offer his shed, and we had about 100 people at the first week of January, height of our summer. But it just goes to show you the calibre of people like yourself and Kaminsky coming out, that people will come and listen. Yeah. And one of the great things is now, it's like, go back 15, 20 years ago going, we couldn't do this, what we're doing right now. And the other side of it is going, someone can just, not pick up the phone, but write an email, get you on social media and say, hi, Jim, my name is such and such. I saw you in Australia for the conference. Need some help with this. And you're more than willing to share. Right. That's a great thing. That's it. And you get around, you travel, and people see what you do. And I've had a lot, we're talking about the feedback going, last couple of days, people have been saying how good you have been here in Australia, and they've learnt a lot. Good. It's been unbelievable. I know Chase was here before, and we did a podcast with him as well. But, I think we both come in. Yeah, get you both back out here again, definitely.
Oh, all you got to do is ask.
Yeah. Well, it's great for someone else. Besides, no offense to Fred. Fred's been out a couple of times, so it's great to get you out. We'll have to get Rick out. I think you and Rick next time are coming down.
Nice. That would be awesome.
Dr. Jim Kearns, thank you so much for jumping on the Golf and Greenkeeper podcast and sharing some of your experience, and thank you again for coming to Australia.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a fantastic time here recording with Nadeem and co, people that have dropped by, celebrities that have dropped by at the Colin Campbell Chemicals stand here at the conference, mate. It's been a great time recording.
It has been, mate. You've done all the hard work. I've just done a couple of things here and there. You recorded a few others while I was having a chat to a few delegates. So, no, thank you very much for that. And thank you for everyone who came on the podcast, took their time, had a quick chat. I hope they enjoy and anyone who obviously couldn't make the show, hopefully we see them in Melbourne next year.
Fantastic, mate. That's we just let it out. We're in Melbourne next
Yeah,
year.
it is official. It is official. So Melbourne next year. So it'll be cold. It'll be freezing as it is usual. But Melbourne's always good. Everyone enjoys it. It's a great city to have the conference.
Brilliant stuff, mate. Thank you, Nadeem, and thanks to Colin Campbell Chemicals. It's been a wonderful time recording.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you to the Golf and Greenkeeper, and we'll talk soon.
And that's it. All wrapped up for another year at the ASTMA conference. That was a fantastic experience, ladies and gentlemen, and I do hope that you really enjoyed that one for something different. I certainly had a great time recording that with Nadeem at his stand at the Colin Campbell Chemicals stand. It was a great lot of fun, and we had some wonderful guests. A quick thank you to everyone who joined us recording that podcast episode. It was great to nab so many different people as they walk past the stand and get them to jump on. Those who were okay with saying yes to jumping on the podcast, because sometimes people get a bit nervy and it wasn't quite for everyone, but we really do appreciate it. Please make sure you check out the show notes. There's going to be lots of clickables as always in the show notes, ladies and gentlemen. And if you would be so kind to please like, share, and subscribe. Really do appreciate reviews as well, and star ratings. Anything you can do to help us spread the podcast around to other people who might be interested in listening. And the live recording one is a great episode. We did it a couple of years ago, Nadeem and I, at the Adelaide conference, and that was very well received, and no doubt this one will be as well. So I do thank you, everyone listening, and for your help in sharing and liking the podcast itself. And a big thank you, of course, to Nadeem and Colin Campbell Chemicals for this fantastic episode, being able to take the time, partner with the Golf and Greenkeeper podcast and myself, and helping me put this one together live at the trade show. Make sure you check out campbellchemicals.com.au and check out all of the products they have available to help you maintain and care for your turf better on your turf facility. And also, don't forget about Behind the Turf podcast that Nadeem has, which is a fantastic resource for everyone in the turf industry. Incidentally, this particular episode will be going out across both platforms, but there are so many other back episodes and future episodes coming that are on Behind the Turf podcast. So make sure you subscribe to Behind the Turf. I'll leave you with it, ladies and gentlemen. As I say, you hit them clean, we'll keep them green, and I'll catch up with you very soon.